As President Tinubu marks 1 year in office, a former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, gave his views on the performance of this administration. Well, in his virtual contribution at the Paul Alaje Colloquium, Obasanjo said to engender investor confidence, the administration must change its current style of leadership.
If the truth must be stated, the present administration have not found the right way to handle the economy, to engender confidence and trust for investors to start trooping in. They know us more than we know ourselves. And now they are laughing at us, not taking us seriously. We have to present ourselves in such a way that we will be taken seriously. If the existing investors are divesting and going out of our country, how do we persuade new investors to rush in? And adding debt to debt that will consume all our revenue for debt servicing is no development. If anything, it is anti-development. We can be serious if we choose to be, but we need to change.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo there at the Paul Alaje Colloquium. Well, joining us now for more on the outcome of that colloquium is Angela Omezia, who is the chairperson the Paul Alaje Colloquium. Good to have you on News Night tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
An interesting one, because Paul Alaje is not a stranger at all to the Arise News family. So it's interesting to know that he started this project. Quite commendable. It's the maiden edition, I gather.
Yes. So
yeah, tell us the high points of today's event. Yes.
Okay. So yes, it was the maiden edition that we had on the 25th of this month. And the Paul Alaje Colloquium was set up primarily as a platform for actionable dialogue. How can we come together to have conversations regarding the different issues that our country is facing at the moment? The theme for this year was Nigeria's development, navigating a way out of the current economic crisis and insecurity. And so we also had different stakeholders that came on board. We had paper presentations on the 4 pillars of the colloquium. The 4 pillars stands on economy, security, social development and governance. And these 4 pillars have ways of intertwining, of course, together. We also had panel discussions as well, which turned out really great. And yeah, so in general, that was what it was about.
Great. I mean, every time we have Paul Alaje here to analyze, especially on economic issues, we always come out, you know, better educated, better informed, because it's not just about coming up with, you know, talking about the problems, but coming up with solutions. And I believe that's what this colloquium addressed. You want to enlighten us on some of the recommendations that may have come out of it?
So, so first thing, I'd like to just say again that the Paul Alaje Colloquium, short, we call that TPAC for short, was primarily set up again to ensure that we're bringing about solutions, not about passing blame to any government or trying to say this person is doing bad and all of that. It's how can we all come together again, like I said, to have these conversations and then prefer, you know, actionable solutions. So one of the things that I really loved about the colloquium was, maybe I'll start first from the former Minister for Agriculture, that's Chief Auduogbe. In his presentation that he talked about, there were, I mean, he raised different issues. One of the things he did say was hitting on the aspect of the what's it called, one of the ECOWAS treaty that was
Right.
passed by, I think, 1988 or so.
That Nigeria signatory
Yes,
to.
exactly. That allows for different herdsmen within the West Africa countries to kind of like go around and enter into different countries. And this is also affecting the aspect of food, security. And so it's like, how can we have a bit of more, proactive treaties being signed so that would actually prevent farmers and the herdsmen, of course, clashing. So that was something that was raised during his time. And then looking at the aspect of the economy, one of the recommendations that was raised during the various conversation was, okay, again, Nigerians, we are constantly importing different kinds of goods, and we consume a lot of certain goods, right? So if we can look at what the data is showing, which is we're consuming this amount and we're importing it, how can we find ways to now produce them ourselves locally, and that way we consume what we're producing, and then we can produce it and also export, and that also gives us a value and income for that. Now that also centers around the aspect of the power sector and energy sector, which needs to be addressed as well. And so that leads us back again to how can we ensure that policies are put in place so that we can address the aspect of energy and address the aspect of power, which affects businesses and everything. Yes, every other thing. And I even remember, I think also Chief Audiobe mentioned again during his session that, he has, a particular farm that was supposed to be producing castor oil. And now he has to shut it down because of power, issues as well. So
not to talk of security situation. And castor oil, I mean, Nigeria is one of the largest producers of castor, but we're not, just like in every other area, we're not really exploring and exploiting, this natural resource that, the creator has given to Nigerians. Now, this colloquium, is it looking forward to narrowing it down and saying, look, we're going to face the economy this time, or agriculture? Of course, that's intertwined, or security, and what have you. Is that a possibility going forward? And I'd like to still stay on the agriculture, the herders issue, where Audiobe talked about, this need for free movement of herders across the ECOWAS sub-region. Is that his recommendation?
No, saying that it should be stopped.
It should be stopped.
Yes.
Great, fantastic.
So more like
I needed to be
stopped.
clear about that.
Yes, it should be stopped because this is what is causing a whole lot of the clashes and affecting our food security. So that treaty may have been set up in such a way that it was supposed to help that flow, but it's like it's not exactly. So let's find more proactive ways to do that.
Were there recommendations to that effect?
Well, I think it's just it's just. No, not really. It's just more like how can we take that off and probably have new laws coming in place that we could just sign up for. And then a part of also looking at the economy as well, looking at the monetary authorities. So the conversation also was how can we also make sure that they focus on what's it called right now? Focus on the price stability. It's like stabilize the price, also advise the government about the economy.
Which is the major mandate of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
And then maybe stop being the spokesperson of the government instead. So that's part of what was raised. Then also still around the economy as well. I wanted to raise a particular point, but I think I've just lost that there.
You want to talk about, I'm sure, the issues of around inflation, interest rate, of course, must have been, discussed.
Yes, definitely. All of that was discussed, but I'm not poor to start giving you all of all the speakers. But I do know, at the end of the day, Nigerians, whether rich, poor, middle class, we're all facing, these problems. We feel it, right?
Absolutely.
And this brings me back to a particular statement that former President Olusegun Obasanjo made. And he said that how can we move away again from being that the government needs to be no longer transactionary, but needs to be transformative and, focus on the aspect of servant leadership. And so for me, as a Mandela Washington Fellow, we hit a lot on the aspect of servant leadership from the great Madiba, that talks about, you know, the Ubuntu principle of community. You are because I am, and I am because you are. So if our leaders are more of servant leaders, right? And part of if our leaders can listen more to the people. So if you are serving me, for example, you probably want to know what I want. You want to listen to me. You want to see how everything else is affecting
But then again,
me.
it depends on the motive for going into public service in the first place.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So,
if it's about service,
yes.
So it will play out in the course of their tenure.
True.
But unfortunately, if it's not
about that, yes. So that's where the advice is also coming from.
Yeah.
So
maybe that's where these conversations really need to start from.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Have that philosophy of servant, you know,
leadership.
just have that servant leadership. Absolutely. Angela Omezia, Chairperson, the Paul Alaje Colloquium. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Coming by.